Hello, I'm back. I'm keeping the camera today closer to my hand so you will not see my face. Some people requested to have a closer look. So I'm going to cover some points in Chopin Nocturne Opus 48, number 1 in C minor, the middle section, the doppio movimento. And the question was that the person finds it to be very difficult and somewhat unreliable in performance. Can also be uncomfortable to play as well. They're holding tension in the shoulders, and as a result they feel the music suffers from it. So could I discuss the techniques for both hands to allow for controlled, comfortable playing of the accompaniment, but also to allow for the top melodic notes to sing out without tensing the upper arm or shoulders. So number one, the question is why are the shoulders holding up? It could be a habit, but often it comes from holding the elbows out, coming from a little bit of this kind of a position. Very often it's the wrist is too low, so the shoulders go up. So I really cannot address that without seeing the person and seeing what they do. But I can talk a little bit about how do we do some of the issues that are involved here. For example, the question of repeated chords. How do we do them? And that goes back, you know, it's very hard to discuss that without first working with the person and making sure that the form, the finger, hand, and form are all connected to each other. This is one of the most basic conditions for movement, for correct movement, which then can be taught. But first there has to be a connection, an outer and inner connection, meaning a real sense of freedom and the feeling that you really right over the form is right over the finger, and it continues being so as we play. When it comes to more notes, you know, they more give that feeling of not pushing and not holding up and not whatever, playing with tension, is that the same way that you do it on a single note, there's a little extra for two fingers and a little extra, and it's a sense and really an inner sense of a give, of a let go without breaking anything. And then that gets to be very easy to put down all those keys. And then there is the other thing that is involved. It's not legato. I mean, there's a legato slur over it, meaning the composer wants there, I assume, you know, for it to be phrased and singing and expressive, and agitato at the same time, which is accomplished with those repeated chords, with the syncopation, and so on. But anyway, so there is a little bit, the tiniest of staccato, but not that kind of a thing. It's just, we don't stay down and we don't also pull up very quickly. It's just a sense of riding the keys up and down. And when it comes to a bigger chord, there's a little bit more of a give, which again, it's not something that is visible. It's something that I can describe to you, the listeners. And it's something that we teach people how to do it. You know, there's a whole pedagogy of how to accomplish that. So when you suddenly have a singing tone, which also depends on a certain amount of give in the forearm, and also how we time the key. The key doesn't have just one speed. It has different speeds, very, very micro differences, which make a big difference in the end, in the sound quality. Whether it's singing, whether it's lighter, whether it's softer, whether it's louder. So all I can say is describe it, but there's a little bit more of I'm not leaning this way, I'm not tensing the fifth finger, which often creates injuries. People tense up in order to get the sound. But the sound, really, the finger still is doing is easy. The more comes from that slight let go in the forearm and timing the key accordingly. So you don't get this kind of a thing. See, it's slowing down the key ever so slightly with a little extra forearm. So here it is, and also I'm moving in because I'm coming to a chord with a thumb on a black key. So I have a choice to do it that and move at the last moment, but that's a very quick and sudden motion, and what feels good in playing is when things are very gradual, very smoothly happening. So here is the smoothness. And I stay here. And then this sends me out to here. And it sends me right back here because of the thumb on the black key. And this chord sends me out here, but when I play, I don't fall out. All chords with the thumb have a slight feeling of forwardness, without the pushing forward to feel solid. So there are a lot of, I would say, techniques that are involved here. As you see, the two aspects that I would like to bring out, especially one is that I'm not hanging on when there is a chance that I will feel a little bit stretched. Also, once I play, if I hang on to this, it's very hard to go inside. So a lot of what we accomplish sonically in terms of the sound and the effect of legato often happens without hanging on. When we can hang on, we do, but very often we can't. So what do? We have the sound, we have shaping, we have pedaling, we have other means. So watch how I'm not hanging on, but I'm connecting the quality of one sound to the next one that is coming, you know, in the soprano. Let go, I even change pedal. And this one is sending me here. Obviously I cannot hang on because I have to repeat that same C. If I hang on, physically I can, it's not a stretch. But musically, if I hang on and I repeat it at the last moment, there is no control of sound. I have to come down at a certain speed to get that quality of sound instead of that quality of sound. So the pedal is holding, the sound is singing, I let go so that I'm ready to come down, and I let go because again I repeat. And the other thing is that you see how constantly there are little leaps. And I let go, but I continue. Let go, send, and send. So I will do it once more, and you will see that what seems to be kind of very smooth going music, a lot of motions are taking place. So again. So what looks very smooth, again, doesn't give us the information. We have to know what is the information to get around so that we are comfortable, we're symptom-free, and we can get the sounds that we want. So I may not be answering everything because a lot of it has to be shown to the person, but I'm giving you, I think, what I can that is more obvious to the eye, that is more visible. The left hand, those of you, so when I started posting again, the first thing I did was double note trills. I was doing, I explained what is involved there, and that you can go into that first post because it's the same thing. It's out, in, but all in the black key area, and it starts from here. I'm going in here in order not to twist and to get in some kind of a way that can hurt the hand. Going straight in, I feel the relation relationship strongly between 1 and 2 closest note, and then I go a little bit in and a little bit lower, a little bit out and higher, very, very close to each other. The rotation, as I explained in the other, the rotation is toward the thumb side. It's from left to right, it's a double rotation from left to right, landing straight down behind both fingers. So you don't see the rotation, you see a little bit of in and out, but here I come out a little bit more, and here is a leap. We have to call those things by name. Either we move ourselves and we move ourselves back, and that has no speed, and also we get tired, so it's too much movement. This is a staccato leap, and then there's another staccato leap. You see how, together with the rotation, the staccato and plus the rotation, plus I'm always looking what's the closest note. Closest note is from the E flat on the 5th to the thumb on the F, and what that accomplishes, again, is that it makes me move the least amount possible. And coming back, 1 to 5, so it's to the right and it's to the right. It's very quick, so I get there in time, and also when I get, those of you who know the concept of grouping, this is one group, I get down and I start again, that's the next group. Coming up, next group. What's important about that is that there are two leaps happening, one after the other, and also changes of directions, and the grouping organizes it. So here is one group, finished, start again. Makes the whole playing feel very organized, but underneath, some of the things that I'm mentioning are taking place. You know, how do we do the double note trills? It is a trill, jumping, leaps, these are all staccato leaps, closest notes, grouping, and so on. So there is a lot going on that we need to be aware of, or it doesn't feel good as the person who is, you know, complaining about it, and that this is, I would say that this is quite a common type of questions. The other thing is that there is also syncopation. How do we express that? Because when we start on the downbeat, and he comes on the, and here it's settling down. So it's a variation on the opening, like down, up, down. It's a variation on that, except he does it here with more movement, triplets. But the technique, and again, underneath musical expression, there is a technique. There is the physical aspect of it, and the other elements like sound, how it all combines with shaping, which creates that kind of a continuity and not a feeling of, you know, things are down, down, and static. So the movements that we need to have to play what's called a natural technique and a solid and effortless technique also is your basis for expressivity. So I do, this is my down, a little bit forward, up and down. So this is how I can express, it's again, the offbeats cannot be expressed the same as the downbeats, and he does a lot of it in the next measure. It comes here, and then the beat comes here, but here he goes back to, you know, to just the melody being on the downbeat. So composers write with tremendous amount of variety, and it's our job to crack the code, so to speak, and to see what do we need to do in order to make it come out the way it should be coming out. So I think that this is what I can I think as much as I can do with the camera and just talking about it and demonstrating a little bit. One other question regarding the same nocturne in measure 69 and 70 that the person is asking, that there is a discomfort here. First of all, again, if you look at your left hand alone, a lot of jumps. So the whole skill of how do we jump is essential. And here we're doing what is more of a singing type of a piece, but it doesn't mean that there is a whole lot of jumping around, and there's a lot of it in the Chopin Nocturnes. I assume that probably at measure 69, maybe the first discomfort is if we play the way it's written, the hands are right in each other's way. The fact that it's written like that doesn't mean that's how we need to play it. We have to bring out those same notes, but you can immediately make it so much easier if you take the first, the E flat and the G, instead of the right hand in the left hand. Just take the C in the right hand, and then the C and the E flat, and the left hand is playing just the G. So the left hand is doing this, and the right hand is doing this. And the hands are completely separate from each other, which is how they like to be. They don't like to be like that. Very often we have situations where there's no choice, and there is a way to make them feel separated. But really not here. The other possibility is just, that's all that this chord is. It's just to get out of the way and take it in the left hand, and the right hand is waiting here. So those are, I would say, are the two possibilities. If you divide it, then you have to get also out of the way, so the left hand can really get into where it has to get. And again, and this is a jump. Now, the next thing, right here, this is very uncomfortable. Again, gets in the way, and I'm wondering if this is very much what's in you know, what the problem is. So what I do this the way I played with the D and the C with the thumb. When I get to the last beat, when I go here, I take the A flat from the left hand. Instead of doing this, I do separate the hands completely. That's what I would do. You just play it softly. But the relationships, I'm going from here to the A flat, and then I'm going to this interval. And again, the issues here is how do we play chords? You know, chords are by nature, they're not connected, but we can give them sound and shaping and some pedaling to make them sound connected, but physically, it's all staccato. You see, there are ins and outs. I'm out here. If you're doing this fingering, you have to go inside, then come a little bit out, staying outside. This one has to swing me right in, starting again out here, turning, all of it has rotation inside it, and I'm going inside to be ready for the fifth finger, the short finger on the black key, so that I don't have something like this and suddenly I have to move in, or very often people twist to do all kinds of uncomfortable things. All you have to do is go in, and again going inside here, and the left hand with the lips. So I'm hoping that that will answer this question.